Welcome to the podcast. Today, have George Bloom with me. George Bloom's a top realtor of Jacksonville, Florida. He's been a top realtor up there for the past 3-4 years. Been the winner of the Triple Gold Award.
Triple Gold Award for the past 3 or 4 years, and just this year I received top producer, which is out of the entire North Florida region, out of 7,000 agents.
So I know I've had George on here a few times before, and I'm always excited to bring him on because of his knowledge in real estate, his experience in real estate, and really his commitment to the customer and commitment to his company. So, George, welcome back on the podcast.
Thanks
again.
for having me, Bobby. I appreciate it.
So, George, one of the first things I've got, this podcast will go over interest and inflation. And when we look at rent prices over the past couple years, they've really taken off and increased a lot. But over the past 6 months, rent prices have actually started to come down. What are you actually seeing out there in the market with rental prices?
Yeah, I still think they're not super high compared to where they used to be, but they're definitely still up there, teetering on, slightly coming down a little bit. Just for example, neighborhood St. John's Town Center, this area, which we're really familiar with, we've talked about it on the podcast previously. I've seen $300-$400 a month price drops for rent, so that's somewhere around there. That's a good thing.
And something else that I noticed too is I was listening to Reventure Consulting this morning, a real estate consulting firm. And one thing that they're reporting is right now there's a backlog throughout the country of 900,000 apartment units that are currently under construction, due to be completed over the next 12 months. So market rental prices have come down a few $100s in the last 6 months on a national average. But with 900,000 units set to hit the market over the next 12 months, prices will be coming down. At least that's what we would expect to see.
You would think that if there's going to be 900,000 additional inventory rental units available, you're going to see a lot of inventory open up, which that's going to help drive those rent prices back down.
Which is a good thing if you're someone looking to rent. I mean, most people are feeling the pressure and the pain of the prices throughout the country of everything from foods to goods and services, and let alone mortgage payment or rental payment. So I think that's good news for anybody that's looking to get involved with rent. Now, if you're somebody that's doing rentals or has done rentals, you probably don't like hearing that news, but just the reality of the situation.
I mean, it's stabilizing a little bit compared to where the market was, a few years ago or 4 years ago. I mean, think about this. I mean, I've talked to clients where they said, "Hey, the landlord raised my rent by $1,000 a month."
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty wild.
It's a lot of money.
If your rent's $2,000, now it's $3,000. I mean, that hits people pretty hard.
Right.
So, I mean, even for, what you and I were doing for rentals, I mean, we couldn't believe we were getting top dollar.
$3,500 a month for townhomes in the middle of Jacksonville, Florida.
Right.
Good prices, real good prices, but probably a little too high.
Right. I mean, we were thinking like, hey, we would be happy with 2,800, and when we're reeling in, around the 3,500 mark, we're like, whoa.
Yeah. And I think when I take a look at what a lot of the leading indicators show, I mean, 900,000 units come into the market over the next 12 months. That's a lot. I'm also curious how that affects the builders, because they're building expecting to get those high prices.
Right.
And now they're not going to be able to get those high prices. So, I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see what kind of impact that has on builders.
They're going to take a hit. I mean, we could potentially see some bankruptcies out there with these builders, these big investment groups thinking that they're going to get, depending on their cap rate they were looking for, and now they're cut in half for what they think they're going to get and what they're actually going to get. I mean, that could have a detrimental effect on these builders and the investors.
Yeah, I was probably about 6 to 12 months ago is when I started talking to you about kind of thinking it was time to get out of the market. I got in 3-4 years ago, got really good return on my investment, good return on equity, and turned around and kind of got out. But when I was getting out, my last property, I think you helped me get out of 3 months ago here in Jacksonville.
Tip of the wave.
Tip of the wave.
I mean, I feel like that was the last big wave.
Yeah, I was surprised at how many investors were still trying to get in at that point right there and didn't realize that there could be a correction coming.
Right.
If I give you a couple cities right now where rent prices are actually still rising year over year: Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Indianapolis, Nashville, Portland, New York, Newark, Nassau, New Brunswick, San Antonio, all 17% to 26% year over year increases. And then when you look at where it's decreased the most year over year: Milwaukee, Minneapolis, Jacksonville, Baltimore. So it's interesting. Although, like, on a national average level, rental prices have decreased in the last 6 months. When you actually look at the whole country totally, still you have certain areas that have increased pretty dramatically in a year over year basis.
Right. And I would be really interested to see the numbers for what is the percentage of increase in rent in, say, Jacksonville throughout the country. What is that rent increase percentage for those last couple years? Because I know it's been crazy. Like,
Yeah.
80%, 50%, just crazy increase. It would be very interested to compare one of those that have actually dropped to, for example, let's say Pittsburgh, who is still on the rise.
Right.
What are those two comparisons, one that's still rising and then one that's dropped? You're probably going to see in Jacksonville versus Pittsburgh a higher increase in super growth
Yeah.
versus Pittsburgh, who maybe had a slow, steady growth and is still actually growing, where Jacksonville maybe topped out at this certain time.
Yeah, like the Sun Belt, Phoenix, Texas, all the way here towards Florida has always been known as those up and down markets, much more volatile, like you're getting to, where there are certain markets that have been much more stable over time. And to your question right here, when we look at median national asking rent prices since 2019, you're right. In 2019, the national average was 1,600, as compared to right now the national average $2,000, $2,040 to be exact. So
Wow.
about 15% increase in rental prices over the past few years.
Right.
And then to kind of switch gears a little bit too, looking at home prices. I mean, if you look at home prices over the past few years, they've gone up pretty dramatically. And I mean, what have, I mean, you probably have had so many happy clients
Oh,
over the past few years. I'd be curious, like, what are your experiences been with your customers over the last 12 months for those that have been getting out of the market?
so a lot of my clients, for example, that I helped purchase homes in the past, let's just say 5 years, from when they got out within the last year, the last 12 months, I mean, talk about capitalizing on market growth.
Yeah.
I mean, I have clients walking away that have put zero down on their house using their VA loan that have walked away with $100,000 plus.
Right.
Like, think about buying a house 3 years ago with zero down. Say you pay $300,000 for this house and you put zero money down to buy that house, and then you sell the house 2 years later and walk away with $100,000 cash.
Yeah.
I mean, that says something about market growth right
Yeah.
there. I mean, what is that percentage compared to, in 5 years or 5 years before that? Year over
Right.
year growth.
Yeah.
You're not making $100,000 from a 2-year investment.
Right. Absolutely. And I think, like, when you look at and that's what leads a lot of people to kind of think and feel that current real estate prices are way too high. They're overvalued. They're overvalued. They're due for a correction. I think the interesting thing in talking with you is, unlike a lot of realtors that are kind of facing some trouble right now, because there's a little bit of a correction going on. You obviously haven't felt that right there, but I mean, do you think home prices are overvalued, a little bit too high right now, or what is your stance been on that?
Depending where you are in the country and specific neighborhood, obviously location. We've all heard that a million times. Prices, we're seeing price drops right now.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can go online and look at some of the big players like Zillow and things like that, you're going to see, hey, there's an estimated 1.2% price drop from this time to next year. Or in this specific area, we're estimating a 4.7% price drop for next year. And I think we're going to continue to see this maybe throughout the next year. and it's really gonna maybe stabilize a little bit and kind of get prices where they should be.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm not a market expert or a crazy market analyst or anything like that. I mean, for example, I have a client who purchased a house for $363,000
Yeah.
at the end of 2019. He closed in September, him and his family, and for example, that same house is now selling for $600,000. It just sold for $600,000 4 months ago.
Yeah.
In that neighborhood, a client put their house on the market, that same exact model house, pretty good location as well, put it on the market for $575,000, and don't forget, one sold a few months before that for $600,000. That $575,000 didn't sell. He dropped it to $550,000, didn't sell. Dropped it to $535,000 and didn't sell.
Right.
So just from that few months difference, one sold from $600,000, same exact model, and now it's not selling at $535,000. So I mean, let's just say that's a $65,000 price difference within 3 months, and it's not selling now for a $65,000 discount.
Right.
So I mean, that's got to just say something right there with the way the market's shifting.
Yeah, I mean, it's so, and a lot of that comes to when we look at, I got this data from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. Food year over year up 10.9%, energy prices up 17.6%, all items less food and energy up 6.3%, and when you look at home prices year over year, they're up as well too. So what does the government do to try to correct that? They really turn up interest rates. Interest rates over the last 6 months have gone from about 3.5% to right now at about 7%. And I think that goes exactly to what you're saying is you have mortgages that have got so much more expensive because interest rates have gone up. So then you have a client that's right in your neighborhood who's unable to sell his home at this point right now.
Right. And he's just trying to sell it for what the other one sold for.
Right.
And
yeah.
He's literally listed it for $25,000 cheaper. He listed for $575 versus the $600.
Yeah.
He wanted to sell it quick. No hits, no showings, no anything.
Right.
And now he has it for $535 and it's still active on the market. It's been on there for about 90 days.
I'm curious how much longer it'll stay on the market for.
So I'm not sure. The gentleman might take it off the market, might leave it on the market. But as a home buyer, not in the industry, you see say you paid $350 for the house, $375 for the house, and you see someone sell it for $600,000.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, I can make all this money, cash. Right. Let's put it on the market. And then your house is like, wait, what's going on? It's $25,000 cheaper. Now we're down to $535. Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
If you're not paying attention to the market, that person will be like, what is going on here?
Right.
Like, there's something serious going on.
Yeah. If you're not super in tune to the market, you wouldn't realize how much can change in just a couple of months.
Right. I mean, like I said, with us selling your last property, your townhouse, I mean, being able to sell it for what we did, I mean, not another townhouse is selling for that in there. That's the most expensive sale in that entire neighborhood.
And one just listed for sale for a higher price than mine, and I think that's going to sit for a while.
That's not. I think that one was like $499 or something.
It's not going to move.
That's not moving.
Right. And it looks beautiful too, brand new.
It's the same model as yours.
Same model. I don't even think they moved furniture in there. It looked like there was an investor that bought it and never actually moved furniture in there. They're just trying to sell it now.
Right. I think they're going to be surprised to see that. Why is no one looking at this house?
Yeah. And the other interesting thing too is if you don't pay attention to the market, like when we had sold mine for $460,000, just a few weeks later, somebody listed the same model for $395. Made no sense.
Right.
Listed and sold for $395.
Right. We would have, and I told you, I was like, we would have bought that right then.
Right. So like if you're someone that's getting ready to buy or sell, you got to be in tune to your neighborhood. You got to be in tune to the market. Otherwise, you don't know if you're getting a good deal or a bad deal.
Right. I mean, when we saw the $395 after yours just sold for $465 for the same model, we were just, I mean, like, what's going on here? I literally called the agent and was like, hey, is this the right price? Like, yes. Why is there a problem? I was like, no, I'd love to buy the house right now.
Right.
We can close cash and close in 10 days.
I appreciated you reaching out to them too because I wanted to get in on that deal with you. It would have been a great deal.
I was ready to do that. And she's like, oh, we're already under contract. She's like, we had like 15 offers. For them to have 15 offers in a kind of a downsloping market,
Right.
right after we caught that last wave. This was like what, a month and a half after that.
About that.
About
Yeah.
that already, it's starting to get even more shaky.
Yeah.
For her to list it that cheap, that was like a disservice for that client.
Right. Completely.
15 offers, and that she thought maybe they wanted to sell quick. There were some
Right.
different, scenarios and variables to play there. I'm not sure, but I mean,
Sometimes too many offers is a bad thing. It means
maybe
you're
listed
underpriced.
too low.
Yeah.
I mean, I was surprised when she said like 15 offers at
Yeah.
$395. Of course, you're
Right.
going to get that many offers. One just sold for $465.
Yeah.
So you got to pay attention to the market.
You do. You need to know market conditions and understand what's going on. And as I look at inflation, check out this statistic that I got from, I think it's from the Wall Street Journal. Nearly half of Americans who earn more than $100,000 a year are just getting by. According to the report, which surveyed nearly 4,000 people, they're all living paycheck to paycheck.
Wow.
People making $100,000 or more a year.
Living paycheck to paycheck.
Mm-hmm. That report of
Now-
4,000 people said they feel like they're living paycheck to paycheck.
Now, is that a family or a family living making $100,000 a year, or is that an individual?
By the way it says, nearly half of Americans who earn more than $100,000 a year are just getting by. I assume it's
Wow.
a family, even though it sounds like an individual.
It sounds like an individual.
But it shows you that your money's just not going as far as it used to.
I mean, with all those inflation numbers that you just said, with food, you said it was up 10%.
Yep.
Transportation, utilities, your electric bill is up 17%. With all those numbers that you just said, if you add all those in there, compared to your $100,000 a year, most people, let's just say you live frugal and you buy a $20,000 car, $25,000 car, there's $500 a month,
Mm-hmm.
200 for insurance. There, you break all these things out with the rent price increasing if you don't even have a mortgage.
Yeah.
With this, the high interest rates right now, and you probably will be living pretty close to paycheck,
Right.
after taxes and everything else.
Look at this stat from the U.S. Bureau of Statistics. From 2019, frozen foods are up 31%. It's a crazy amount of money to go up.
31% for frozen foods.
Yeah.
People,
Yeah.
plant a small garden.
Right. Yeah.
That's my advice. Plant
Yeah.
a small garden. It's not hard to grow potatoes and things
No,
like
you
that.
do that, which is interesting. You have a whole bunch of food you grow
Yeah,
right in your backyard.
it's super. I got 2 pineapple plants,
Yeah.
and I'm here in Florida, and I don't even have a yard.
Right.
I have a little patio space. I have
Yeah.
2 pineapple plants, a bunch of potato plants. I grow basil, cilantro,
Yeah.
parsley, and that we're in Florida. That grows all year
Yeah.
round. And you have your basil growing that I gave you in your house
my
right
basil, I have my broccoli, I have my tomatoes until they got killed off.
now. Right. I mean, just little things like that.
Yeah. I mean, up in West Virginia, you've got your up in Virginia, you've got your farm up there where you've got a lot of food growing for your father. You got all your chickens and
Yeah.
the eggs up there as well too. So
Right.
it's smart. It's a good idea.
Yeah, little
Good
vacation
idea.
spot up there, and starting to get that going. Hopefully, by springtime we have the cows and a couple lambs and things
Yeah.
like that. Just to have, I like farming. It helps take my mind off real estate and
Yeah.
everything, and want to get that going up there as well.
Right.
We got to
Absolutely.
definitely get a podcast on that going soon.
We do. Yeah, we absolutely do. Talking about interest rates going up, obviously that's the Fed's defense to bring inflation down. What that shows is mortgage applications are at a 10 to 20 year low. Looking at Reventure Consulting, they're reporting that mortgage applications are lower than 07-08 level, which would be a sign of things to come.
Right.
I
If
mean-
they're that low, we're seeing a shift for sure. Now, with interest rates also being that low, I did lock in a client yesterday, VA loan, 30-year fixed rate,
Yeah.
no 2-1 buy down options or anything like that. The lowest on the rate sheet, what the loan officer is allowed to give through the mortgage company.
Right.
I was able to get him, or the loan officer was able to get him, a 5.75.
Yeah.
5.75.
Way better than a 7.
Right, way better than a 7.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I do think we had to pay about $5,000 to get that rate,
Yeah.
but still, $5,000 to get locked in at a
Over the course of time, that
5.75.
adds
He's
up.
he's gonna stay. He's not moving. Wants to be there. Retired there, so he's fine paying that. And we actually got the builder to cover all those fees anyway, so it worked
Yeah.
out great.
I think one of the important things I think that is important to look at is while I think we're having much more bleak market conditions, and I think we are due for a downturn. I do think a correction's coming. I think interest rates will go a little bit higher. I think the Fed will probably increase them 2 more times before they start taking them down again. Um, it's a tough time for buyers, sellers, and realtors, but the information that you just went over right there shows that a good realtor knows how to still negotiate in bad market conditions between the buyer sellers and the home builders and the loan companies to still fight on his client's behalf to get good deals. And with that being said, George, tell me why a lot of realtors are struggling right now, but you're still helping your clients and you're still yourself doing totally fine out there.
I mean, I'm staying extremely busy right now. I mean, in the office, we've had tons of meetings and said, to help all the other agents out because, hey, the market's shifting, they're getting nervous, they're seeing less business, they're getting less referrals, they're having less clients. I have calls every single week with my previous clients saying, hey, we have a friend moving to town. We have someone that's PCS in the military here. Can you help them out? Whether it's looking for a rental or a purchase, I'm getting calls all day long.
Yeah.
People that need help, people need to find places to live, people want to sell their house, they're relocating out of here. It's important to stay in touch with all these clients to make sure you're there, you're available to help them when the needs be. And also 100% customer service.
Yeah.
If you're taking care of your clients, you're doing everything possible to make sure they're getting the best deal for them and their family, they're going to call. You're going to have a ton of referrals and things like that. Now, with the market conditions, everyone getting scared, it's even more important to give great customer service for the average agent out there to show that you really care. Go that extra mile doing that research. Give those clients all their options. They're looking in a certain geographical area. Give them every single available option in that area to purchase a home, whether it's a secondary home or new construction. Lay out all those pros and cons. So, hey, if you buy a new construction house right now, here is all your benefits. Hey, you buy a secondary home, this is the average credits from sellers to help you buy a house.
Yeah.
Or if you're listing a house and they say, oh, well, we really wanted to pay off a bunch of debt. It's really tough right now for us. We have all these credit cards. Well, now is it, if you plan to stay in Jacksonville or plan to stay in that certain location, is it the best time to sell your house right now? Or do you want to do a second mortgage or debt consolidated and keep that house with that low interest rate that you already have and maybe wait a year or two and see what happens if you can maybe do a second mortgage to pay off that? There's just so many different options out there for different clients that they really need to make sure they know every single available option to them and put the client first. Make sure you're there to help them and not just look to make that buck off them. If you put the client first, take care of them, get them what they need, give them their options, you're going to get a paycheck. Put the client first.
I love that, man. That's working at Amazon. We have a principle called customer obsession. Obsess over your customer, put them first, and then ultimately get the results that you're looking for. George, brother, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Yes, sir.
It's good having you on. We'll have you back on very soon.
Much appreciated. Thank you, Mr. Tighe.